Hello and welcome to the Folklore Podcast Christmas Special. Christmas. It's a time for joy, for celebration, and for families to come together. There's no room for tragedy and unpleasantness during the festive season. Well, EastEnders and most other soap operas would disagree. And, sometimes, so does folklore too. Cut to Bramshill House in the English county of Hampshire. It was here, at some point in the 17th century, that a young lady by the name of Anne Cope chose Christmas Day as the day to be married. The day passed as desired, and the couple were duly wed. But, before the end of the night, the new bride suggested that a game of hide-and-seek around the rambling mansion might be good fun. Perhaps she was nervous of the usual wedding night routine with her husband. History, thankfully, does not relate whether that's the case. Anne chose to be the hider, with all her guests then charged to seek her out. After the head start of 5 minutes that Anne requested, the rest of the party set off in pursuit. They searched the house, high and low, but nobody could find Anne. Evidently she was a master at the fine art of hiding. After a while, the guests began to think that they'd been pranked. After more time passed, this gave way to fear. Nobody had a clue where Anne had gone. Lord Hugh Bethel, for he was the groom, was beside himself. His new marriage seemed not to have lasted even as long as the honeymoon or the eating of the leftover cake. People started to speculate that perhaps Anne had done a runner rather than stay with Hugh. In any case, the Lord refused to give up searching. He needed answers. These answers finally came some 50 years later in the attic of the mansion. Lord Hugh Bethel had continued looking for his bride the whole time. And now, knocking on the oak panelling at the top of the house, he uncovered a secret door that had been unknown to him. In the chamber beyond, a wooden chest with elaborate carving presented itself. And inside the chest, the skeleton of a woman, dressed in a wedding dress and still holding a bouquet. Of course, the main thing that we can say about this story is that it undoubtedly never happened. Over the years, different names have been ascribed to the woman in this location, and different nationalities too. You see, the legend of the Mistletoe Bride, as it's generally become known, it's just that, a legend. And it can be found in at least 6 different houses around the UK, and in other countries too. There seem to be an awful lot of unfortunate brides who blunder into self-locking boxes. Many people will tell you that the first appearance of this story is in a poem by Samuel Rogers, published in 1822 in a book called Italy. The poem is titled Ginevra. Incidentally, this is the other name that's usually given to the bride at Bramshill House when she isn't Anne Cope. And her nationality is given as Italian when it isn't given as English. Rogers thought that he was basing the poem on fact, but he didn't know the location because a number of different locations had been suggested. It turns out that the many people who will tell you that the Rogers poem is the earliest example are wrong. There is an earlier one, recorded in 1809 in an article called A Melancholy Occurrence. It was published in the Monthly Anthology and Boston Review, and it was set in Germany. Now, as far as I know, this is the earliest example that we have of this story in print. It is very obscure, and it took me some time to track it down. So, to make the most of that effort, I'm going to read you the whole entry. It's not that long. It says this: A singular and calamitous event which happened in Germany and which was long involved in the deepest mystery was brought to light a few years since. The Baron de redacted name, when a young man, was married to a young and lovely woman, to whom he was fondly attached. A party of the friends of the family were invited to pass some days with them at his mansion in the country, to celebrate this happy event. On the evening of the marriage, they were amusing themselves by playing hide-and-go-seek. During the game, every one had been found but the bride, and they were all employed in seeking her, wondering how well she had hid herself. Not being able to find her, nor obtaining any answer to their repeated calls, they became alarmed, and every one, with all the servants, were employed in the search. The house was ransacked from the chambers to the cellar. The garden, the grounds about, every place was explored in vain. Thinking she might have been carried off if she had gone out of the house, persons were dispatched round the neighbourhood and on all the different roads. Nothing could be heard of her. Letters and every inquiry were afterwards made to no purpose. The husband lamented his misfortune, never married, and was always tortured with his mysterious loss. After a lapse of 30 years, the house was destined to be thoroughly repaired. In removing the rubbish from a neglected garret, there was among it a large antiquated trunk. On opening it, they found a skeleton, with some fragments of female dress. On examination, they were recognised to have been part of the bridal dress of the unfortunate lady, and that she had concealed herself in this trunk, which, fastening with a spring lock, the top had fallen, and that she had miserably perished. There is certainly no doubt that this is our tale of the Mistletoe Bride in its earliest and simplest form. It is, of course, a good macabre story, with all of the perfect elements for a ghostly horror. But what really led to the popularity of this story spreading was a song. It was called The Mistletoe Bough, and it was written by T.K. Bailey and Sir Henry Bishop. So well known was this that in the mid-1850s, the singing of it was described as a national occurrence at Christmas across England. And so, that's how we should finish this Christmas special. We're going to do that in style too. Now, I was delighted to realise that this song was in the repertoire of a folk singer who I have known for many years, Jackie Oates. Jackie is at the forefront of the British folk scene. She's won the BBC Radio 2 Folk Award twice and been nominated for it 5 times. She's had a string of critically acclaimed solo albums, but she's also collaborated with the biggest names in folk, being a member of the supergroup The Imagined Village, alongside Eliza and Martin Carthy and Billy Bragg. And she was also a former member of the Unthanks. So I reached out to Jackie, and she recorded this rendition of the Mistletoe Bough exclusively for you, listeners and viewers of this podcast, in her dressing room during her current tour. Now, don't forget, if you are listening to the audio version of this show, then you can watch this performance as well on the YouTube version. Happy Christmas to you all, and I look forward to being back in the new year for season 11 of the podcast. Until then, thanks for being here, and see you soon.
The mistletoe hung in the castle hall, the holly branch hung on the old oak wall. The baron's retainers were blithe and gay, keeping the Christmas holiday. The baron beheld with a father's pride his beautiful child, Lord Lovel's bride. And she with her bright eyes seemed to be the pride of that goodly company. Oh, the mistletoe bough, oh, the mistletoe bough. I'm weary of dancing now, she cried. Here tarry a moment, I'll hide. And love'll be sure you're the first to trace the clue to my secret hiding place. Away she ran and her friends began each tower to search and each nook to scan. And Lovell he cried, oh, where do you hide? I'm lonesome without you, my own fair bride. Oh, the mistletoe bough, oh, the mistletoe bough. They sought her that night, they sought her next day. They sought her in vain when a week passed away. In the highest, the lowest, the loneliest spot, young Lovell sought wildly but found her not. And years flew by and their grief at last was told as a sorrowful tale long past. And when Lovell appeared, all the children cried, see the old man weeps for his fairy bride. Oh, the mistletoe bough, oh, the mistletoe bough. At length an old chest that had long laid hid was found in the castle. They raised the lid. A skeleton form lay mouldering there in the bridal wreath of that lady fair. How sad the day when in sportive jest she hid from her love in the old oak chest. It closed with a din and a dreadful doom, and the bride lay clasped in a living tomb. Oh,